Ray tracing. Ray tracing simulates how light behaves in the real world. Instead of relying on visual tricks, it calculates how light bounces off surfaces, reflects in mirrors, passes through glass, and creates soft shadows. The result is lighting that feels natural instead of artificial. Reflections show objects actually behind you, shadows soften realistically, and scenes gain depth that standard lighting can't quite fake. Even small details like reflections in wet spots or light passing through windows start behaving the way your brain expects them to, which is why scenes suddenly feel more believable and grounded. It also enhances materials like metal, water, and polished floors, making surfaces react to light more convincingly and giving environments a more natural sense of depth. It can also simulate global illumination and subtle ambient bounce lighting effects. The catch is performance. Ray tracing is demanding, and enabling it can drop frame rates fast. It won't improve your aim, your reaction time, or your performance. It just makes everything look more realistic. Traditional lighting fakes reality. Ray tracing simulates it. Perfect for movie-like realism. Less perfect if you prefer smooth gameplay over pretty wet spots. Many players toggle it on for screenshots and off for actual gameplay because the visual upgrade is obvious. But the performance cost is just as noticeable during intense scenes and fast movement, especially when explosions, particles, reflections, transparent surfaces, and complex lighting all compete for processing power at the same time. DLSS stands for Deep Learning Supersampling, which sounds complicated but solves a simple problem: getting more performance without making your game look worse. Available on NVIDIA GPUs, DLSS renders the game at a lower resolution and then uses AI to reconstruct missing detail and output a sharp, higher resolution image. The result is higher FPS with minimal loss in visual quality. In many cases, it can even look cleaner than native resolution because it reduces shimmering and visual noise, especially on thin objects and fine textures. DLSS exists because modern graphics features demand enormous processing power, and this technology reduces workload while preserving clarity and stability during motion. This helps maintain clarity during motion and complex visual effects. The limitation is compatibility. DLSS works only on supported NVIDIA GPUs and in supported games. Lowering resolution manually makes games blurry. DLSS delivers speed and sharpness. If you're gaming at 1440p, 4K, or using ray tracing, this can feel like free performance. Are you team pretty reflections or team more FPS? DLSS tries to let you have both, and once you see the difference, it's hard to go back. FSR. If you don't have an NVIDIA card, you're not out of luck. FSR stands for Fidelity FX Super Resolution, AMD's alternative to DLSS. It follows the same principle: render lower, upscale higher. Unlike DLSS, FSR does not require specialized AI hardware. That gives it a major advantage in compatibility. It works on AMD GPUs, NVIDIA GPUs, older graphics cards, and even consoles. Image quality isn't always quite as clean as DLSS, especially during motion, but the performance gains are significant. For budget builds or aging GPUs, FSR can be the difference between unplayable and smooth gameplay. Great for older hardware trying to stay relevant. Most games include quality, balanced, and performance modes, so you can choose between clarity and speed, or panic switch mid-boss fight when explosions start eating your frame rate and performance suddenly drops. Frame generation. Frame generation increases frame per second by creating additional frames using AI. Instead of rendering every frame normally, the GPU inserts generated frames between real ones using motion data. A game running at 60 frames per second can appear closer to 120, making motion dramatically smoother and more fluid to the eye. Fast motion appears smoother overall. There is a downside. Frame generation can slightly increase input latency, meaning your actions may feel less responsive. In slower or single-player games, the smoothness feels fantastic and cinematic. In competitive shooters, that delay can feel like your character is reacting to events from the past. Smooth visuals versus responsiveness. Choose wisely, because your reflexes will notice the difference immediately in fast encounters and quick reactions. VRAM. If your game stutters, even when the FPS counter looks fine, VRAM might be the issue. VRAM stands for Video Random Access Memory, and it's the memory built into your GPU. It stores textures, models, shaders, and graphical data the GPU needs instantly. Higher resolutions and high-quality textures require more VRAM. When a game runs out, performance can collapse. Stuttering, texture pop-in, and sudden FPS drops. Walls turning into blurry mush before loading detail is a classic symptom. At 1080p, you can get by with less. At 1440p, more VRAM helps. At 4K, it becomes critical. Think of VRAM as your GPU's desk space. The less space available, the more chaos happens. Modern titles with ultra texture packs and huge open worlds can push VRAM limits quickly, especially during fast travel or crowded environments in busy action scenes where data loads constantly. Anti-aliasing. Anti-aliasing reduces rough edges on objects. Because displays use square pixels, diagonal lines can look stair-stepped. Anti-aliasing smooths those edges by blending colors between pixels so objects appear more natural. There are multiple methods. Some prioritize image quality, others prioritize performance. Higher quality techniques improve clarity but can reduce FPS, while faster methods may introduce slight blur. It doesn't affect gameplay, but once you notice rough edges, you can't unsee them. Thin wires, fences, and distant details benefit the most, especially when moving through large environments where shimmering edges can become distracting over time and reduce visual clarity, especially in fast camera pans. Adaptive sync. If gameplay feels uneven, even when FPS looks stable, screen tearing may be the problem. Adaptive sync technologies synchronize your monitor's refresh rate with your GPU's frame rate. NVIDIA calls this G-Sync. AMD calls it FreeSync. When refresh rate and FPS don't match, multiple frames can appear on screen at once, creating tearing. Adaptive sync eliminates tearing and reduces stutter by allowing the display to adjust dynamically. Motion becomes smoother and more consistent, especially when frame rates fluctuate during demanding scenes. G-Sync requires compatible NVIDIA hardware, while FreeSync is more widely supported and often more affordable. These technologies don't increase FPS. They make gameplay feel dramatically smoother. Your eyes will thank you, especially during fast camera movement and intense action scenes. Many players notice smoother motion immediately, even before checking any settings or frame counters. Modern GPU features aren't just visual gimmicks, so stop guessing and start optimizing.